My name's James Currie from Nikon's Birding Adventures, and we're in Crystal River, Florida. This morning, we're headed out into Crystal River National Wildlife Refuge with Hobie to try out their new Hobie kayaks. But more importantly, we're going in search of one of the most endangered large mammals in Florida, the Florida manatee. Let's go birding. Swimming with manatees is just one of those truly unforgettable experiences, something that you get to do possibly once in a lifetime. Just getting in the water with these gentle giants was so fascinating, and the fact that they actually welcome human interaction is really incredible. As long as you sit there quietly in the water, they'll actually come up to you and you can rub them, and they really seem to appreciate that interaction with humans. Manatees belong to an order of marine mammals called the sirenians. And the sirenians, or some people call them sirenians, they come from an ancient word called a siren. And the old mariners used to believe that manatees were mermaids. So the sirenians comes from that word sirens. And there are actually 4 species of sirenians worldwide. 3 species of manatees and 1 species of dugong. The 3 species of manatees are the West Indian manatee, the West African manatee, and the Amazonian manatee. And right here in Florida, we have the West Indian manatee. But we also have a subspecies of that manatee here called the Florida manatee. These animals are highly endangered, and they've really not benefited from their interactions with humans. So there's a lot of times when these manatees have been ridden over by boats. They've suffered blunt trauma and sharp trauma from the propellers of the boats. So we've got to be very, very careful in the way that we treat these animals in the wild. So just to be out here and to see these animals, these gentle giants, interacting with us in such a fabulous way was so incredible. Manatees can get up to 1,200, 1,300 pounds. In very rare cases, they can get up to 3,500, 3,600 pounds, up to 13 or 14 feet long. And the Florida manatee is the largest of all the manatee species. Right now, we actually got to get into the water here with my kids, with an adult female and her baby. And it was so special to see that baby coming up and actually seeking our attention, while the mom kind of kept off to the distance. And then every now and again, the baby would go back to the mom for reassurance, and then she'd come back out and play with us in this crystal clear water here in Crystal River National Wildlife Refuge. Being in the water with these manatees, you're really able to see how adapted they are for this aquatic lifestyle. You know, manatees are mammals, so they've got these modified forelimbs into these flippers, and their tail has been modified into this paddle-shaped paddle, which they use to swim and propel themselves through the water. They've also got rudimentary hind limbs where the back legs were, and these now in a manatee are just floating bones. In the old days, it's really tragic to think that people used to hunt these for their bones, for their meat, for their blubber. And in some parts of the world today, they're actually still hunted and poached, which is really, really sad. But thankfully, in places like Florida, places all over the world, manatees and dugongs are now very, very well protected. So we can hope that future generations, like my kids and their kids' kids, can see manatees for many years to come. The Florida manatee is nearly entirely herbivorous, which means it feeds on aquatic plants, and they're very, very partial to something called seagrass. And that's another very important resource that is vital for us to protect, is for these manatees to be able to feed on seagrass for generations to come. Things like oil spills, pollution in the water, pesticides, these all have the ability to severely deplete the seagrass on which these manatees depend. Now, manatees can feed on up to 1/10 of their body weight in seagrass every day. So you can imagine that a manatee that weighs 1,000 pounds is eating up to 100 pounds of seagrass every single day. I think seeing these manatees by kayak is one of the best ways to view these animals. Obviously, getting in the water with them and letting them approach you is great, but to see them from the top on these kayaks is also wonderful. And what I love about these Hobie kayaks is the fact that they're totally quiet. They're also mimicking nature through the Hobie drive. You can see those flippers almost like a penguin's flippers, even a manatee's flipper. You can see that movement through the water, very gentle. There's no propeller movement here. This is a gentle movement, and you can really get up close to a lot of wildlife like manatees by just going with stealth, going really quietly using these Hobie Mirage Drive kayaks. A fascinating and amazing way to explore the nature of a place like Florida.